Multi-rolls help a little bit. We're pretty sure it doesn't help your odds of pulling 5-star servants, but there is a tiny chance they might help you pull a 4-star servant. Promise you a 4-star card and a 3-star or better servant. Most of the time, you can get the same things from 10 single pulls. Maybe I should make a video about it. Would that be interesting? And reply. Who am I kidding? Now that I'm thinking about the math, I'm definitely making this video. Welcome fans of Fate Grand Order. I am Avon, you're watching FGO Tips, and today we're delving into the basics of statistical analysis as we look into the mathematics of summoning servants and compare St. Quartz to summoning tickets. Right off the bat, let's be clear about one thing. St. Quartz can do things that tickets simply cannot. Quartz can revive your entire party after they've been defeated, or restore your AP completely from scratch. 3 Quartz is like a ticket, but with the option to do many other things as well. So for that reason alone, it's hard to argue that Quartz isn't better than a ticket. Personally, I don't use Quartz for anything but summoning, and I don't think I'm alone there. Most players will tell you the real advantage to Quartz is your ability to summon 10 times at once. So how much does multi-rolling help? Well, the game very clearly tells us that each multi will feature a guaranteed 4-star or above card and a guaranteed 3-star or above servant. That sounds great in theory. You'd even be forgiven for thinking that means an increased chance of 5-star servants. The naive implementation of guaranteed 3-star or above servant looks like this. That's more than double the chances of an SSR servant. The naive implementation of guaranteed 4-star card looks even better. That's 5 times the chances of an SSR servant. The problem is, it doesn't really work that way. If it did, you would see a 5-star servant in 5% of pulls. That means roughly once every 20 cards, or once every other multi-roll. Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't see those kinds of stats, even on my greatest hot streaks. We don't know exactly how the code is written, but we can take some educated guesses based on the behavior we see in the game. And in truth, it probably looks something like this. Notice that our coveted 5-star servants remain at 1%. Still, this isn't nothing. The boost to servants and/or 4-star CEs is still helpful sometimes, just not as often as you might think. Certainly not every multi-roll, because the odds are reasonably high that you would find at least one servant and at least one 4-star card or better, even if you rolled 10 single rolls. You have a collective 20% chance of getting a 4-star or better card with any one pull, which leaves an 80% chance of pulling a 3-star card instead. But what are the chances of pulling 2 3-stars in a row? Well, 80% of 80%, or 64%. And 3 times in a row, 51.2%. In fact, we can calculate the odds of continuing this streak by raising 0.8 to the power of n. In our case, we're talking about 10 pulls, so 0.8 to the power of 10, which is about 0.107 or 10.7%. We can calculate the odds of getting at least one 4-star card by subtracting 0.107 from 1, which leaves us with 89.3%. That means almost 9 out of 10 multi-rolls, the guaranteed card arrives without needing to adjust the odds in your favor at all. Almost 9 out of 10 times, it behaves just like you've made 10 single pulls. And when it comes to pulling a servant, it's even worse. You have a collective 44% chance of getting a servant with any one pull, which leaves a 56% chance of pulling a CE instead. The odds of pulling 10 consecutive CEs? Less than 1/2 of 1%. They really don't have to do much work at all to guarantee us a 3-star or better servant. So, what are the chances that at least one of these things happens and the multi-roll is forced to intervene and change the odds? As it turns out, you can calculate this if you remember some things from your Intro to Statistics class. But just in case you've already purged that from your memory, or maybe you haven't gotten that far yet, here's the summary version. We already covered the trick to calculating the odds of getting at least one 4-star card. Let's call this P of A, or the probability of A happening, where A is at least one 4-star card. We used the same trick to calculate the odds of getting at least one servant. Let's call this P of B, or the probability of B happening, where B is at least one servant. Thanks to the general probability addition rule, we know that the union of P of A and P of B is equal to P of A plus P of B minus the intersection of P of A and P of B. In other words, the chances that either A or B happened is equal to the chances that A happened plus the chances that B happened minus the chances that A and B happened. This makes sense if you think about it in an abstract sense. P of A includes some cases where B is true and some cases where B is false. Also, P of B includes some cases where A is true and some cases where A is false. If we just add P of A and P of B together, we end up counting the parts that overlapped twice instead of just once. By subtracting the intersection, we fix this problem. Of course, we're not trying to figure out the odds of either A or B, we're trying to figure out the odds of A and B. So we need to do some addition and some subtraction to get the following. Now we can plug in the numbers we discussed earlier. The union of A and B can be calculated using the same trick we've been using all along. 1 minus the chances of getting neither a 4-star card nor a servant to the 10th power. That is 1 minus 0.4 to the 10th. And what do we come up with? 88.97% of the time, you would get at least one 4-star or better card and at least one 3-star or better servant, even if you never did multi-rolls. Again, we're looking at only roughly 1 out of every 10 multi-rolls that the multi-roll itself actually has any effect. Now, since most of the work is already done, I want to take a look at one more case. The best possible case. What if we run a multi-roll and the first 9 cards are all 3-star CEs? That means the 10th and final card has to be both 4-star or better and a servant. What are the odds of this happening? 0.2 to the 9th. 0.026%. Roughly once every 380,000 multi-rolls. And strictly speaking, even if that happened in 9 single rolls, there would still be a 4% chance that the next roll would be a 4-star or better servant. In that case, the multi-roll still wouldn't have helped us out, so it's only in the event that the final card would have been a CE or a 3-star servant that we really benefit. That takes the odds down to just over 0.025%. Which is less than once every 3,900 multi-rolls, or put another way, once per 119,000 Saint Quartz, which comes out to more than 68,000 US dollars. That would require some serious whaling. So back to the original question one more time, is a multi-roll better than 10 single rolls? Yes, it is. Roughly 11% of the time, it's a little bit better, replacing your 3-star CE with a 4-star CE, or a 3-star servant instead. And 0.025% of the time, it's way better, replacing a 3-star card with a 4-star servant instead. And what's the ultimate takeaway? Multi-rolling is helpful, but not in any game-breaking way. If your favorite banner is about to end and you only have 3 quartz, don't be afraid to spend it on a single pull. However you summon, you should try to emphasize whatever makes the game fun for you. Don't get bogged down in the math too much, unless you're like me and you think the math is the fun part. In that case, feel free to leave a comment about your own calculations, and let me know if you think I missed anything. Without direct access to the code itself, we can't be 100% sure, but I presented what I found to be the most likely implementation of multi-rolls based on the empirical evidence I've seen. Let me know what you think. If you found this video interesting or useful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If the math put you to sleep, leave me a comment to that effect, because I'm genuinely interested in your feedback. If you want to hear more tips in the future, be sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.